Okay, so my name is Sierra Bush, of Lularoe Sierra Bush, and I just wanted to get on a little bit today. I actually hate talking on camera. I've been super nervous about it, but in Lularoe we talk a lot about why we do Lularoe, and I've never shared actually why I do Lularoe, and I thought it would be a good time to get on and talk a little bit about myself and how long I've been doing this. I actually attended my first pop-up a little over 2 years ago. I've been shopping the brand for close to 2.5 years. And it was actually a friend who launched to Lularoe that finally got me to stop avoiding the direct sales of Lularoe, because Lularoe is not like a lot of direct sales, and I can go into that in other videos. But I went to her launch party to buy a maxi skirt and met this beautiful creature called the Irma. I love Irma. She is pretty much my jam. But then I pretty much shopped Lularoe for about 2 years on a budget, tried to make that work. I was recently become stay-at-home mom, living off one income. And my husband and I did fairly well. Oh, I should probably introduce my family. My husband is Jason, and I have 2 little boys, James and Toby. And I was a stay-at-home mom at the time, and we were doing good. We lived in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and it was right after we moved here to Huntsville, Alabama, that I started noticing that our budget was a little bit broken. I took care of all the finances. I paid the bills. My husband is really good with money, but he's really bad at paying bills. So that was kind of my thing, to like stay organized and be on top of stuff. And anyway, I started noticing we just bought this new house, and our new house is seems like really big compared to our first home. But our mortgage wasn't like that much more, but I really do think that maybe our budget got a little bit broken because we just weren't used to having that slightly higher mortgage and stuff. But my husband and I really have this goal to be generous and take care of friends when they need things, and see a need and fill it. That's a common thing in Lularoe, is to see a need and fill it. And in January, I found out one of my friends was going through pretty difficult time, and I wanted to spoil her a little bit more and make her feel more loved. But you know, we were dipping into savings a couple $100 a month every month, and eventually that savings account would run dry. And so I was like, you know what, our budget's broken. I really want to help some people. I really, really love this brand. And so I decided to take a leap. It had never been a possibility before. My husband and I, we were out of credit card debt, and here we find ourselves going into debt quite a bit. We won't pretend that Lularoe isn't chump change. But Lularoe has been such a blessing for me, and the reason why I keep doing it is something that I never expected. In May this last year, I attended Lularoe's Nashville Inspire Tour. And Inspire is training, and they really help you identify what your why is. And my why at the time was about being generous. And it completely out of left field, like right after I got out of Inspire, it kind of hit me that my family, and more importantly, my oldest little boy, was in need of stuff that I wasn't quite sure what to provide. James, he's super smart. He knows a ton of words, a ton of nouns, talks a ton, and lately he's actually chattering tons, a lot more than, he's a little bit over 3 years old. He's not quite 3.5. But we've been doing speech therapy with him, and he had some sensory concerns. It became more and more evident that he is likely on the spectrum. I actually have my lovely leggings. So he is likely on the spectrum. We had a formal evaluation a couple weeks ago. We get our results this week, mostly just to, you know, make us feel less blind as parents and equip us better with resources, but Lularoe for me has, like, I can't even begin to describe it. Starting this, I have been on a couple of message boards and been given the opportunity to do a couple of trainings as a trainer, and met other Lularoe consultants that have similar circumstances, that have needs for their family to help their boys be more social and therapies and things like that. And funny story, so a couple of weeks ago, I guess it was probably more like a month ago, we started pursuing what's called applied behavioral analysis for James, and we were mega sticker shocked. Applied behavioral analysis is a very expensive treatment. They require a minimum number of hours depending on where you live and whichever clinic you go to. And everything, all the research we'd done online showed that this particular therapy that he needed was the best place to go was this particular clinic. And we went and we had him do his intake interview. And she's like, hey, your insurance doesn't cover this, and you're going to have to pay for this privately. And so I was like, okay, fine. Like, I've got Lularoe, and that's totally doable. Well, she calls me and she's like, okay, well, we're going to work with you since you guys are doing private pay. You know, this, how many hours are required. This is how we charge. And it's going to be $1,300 a week for 10 hours of therapy. And I listened to her and I was like, okay, I could do that. And then I went and I punched the numbers and I was like, there's no way. Like, I'm pretty successful with Lularoe, but that would be all of it. That would be all of it. And he's totally worth all of it. But this is the really cool part. So I was sitting here stressing, being like, okay, how can I make this work? I need to do this for my son. And I was just on Facebook one day, and it actually had nothing to do about this, but I had mentioned that I was looking for these, made a comment, and a lovely consultant, fellow leader, I think on a completely different team than me, she's like, my son was diagnosed with autism at age 2-3 years ago. And so I was just like, hey, very similar circumstance. You're a Lularoe consultant. You're a parent who's, you know, at least has some other connection. And so I friended her and I sent her some messages, found out her son had actually been diagnosed here where I live in the same city. And they'd actually moved states because of the same need for this therapy. And I was like, well, moving's out of the question. She's like, well, let me talk to my friends. And she comes back only like an hour later, had, you know, taken some time out of her schedule, and tells me that there's this amazing clinic. And it's really hard to find on Google because, trust me, I was all over Google looking for places. And I call them, and they tell me that for their program, it's 20 hours, so twice as much for $500 a week. And I heard that and I was like, holy crap. Everything, like, when I started this back in January, it seemed like something for me and something that I wanted to do to, you know, kind of have, you know, a hobby and a way to spoil some friends and to make our budget work a little bit better. I had no idea that I would be here as like a parent and a businesswoman and be able to create this community with all these other women and be able to provide something that can literally be life-changing for my little guy, to help him through life a little bit more. And sorry, I'm like a total ball baby. But I was not expecting that. I wasn't expecting that I would need Lularoe and that Lularoe would just be there to catch me when I needed it. Obviously, someone upstairs had a plan, but anyway, so my why, long story short, I do this because, one, I want to take care of my family. But more importantly, I so but I want to be able to connect and have a community with other women who want to take care of their families too, and to be able to provide things that otherwise would be impossible. And that's what Lularoe does for me. So I hope you have enjoyed listening to me bawl. But I love you guys, and we'll talk to you later.